Hi everyone. We're just going through the loading phase, so we're just gonna leave this graphic up as a waiting room. And just obviously I can check and make sure everyone's getting an okay to watch. Most people had the emails with the links, but I just wanted to check social media and make sure that everyone's no one's gone to there for today, and then I can work out and also work out my delay as well between YouTube and what I'm broadcasting. But yeah, bear with us, guys. As you come in, if you can just please put a comment, even if it's just a hi, just so I can see everyone's in here. I can see Jez Farmer's already made a comment. So yeah, if you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Cool. Going to come back in because I think as much as I can see, I think everyone's getting in okay. Hi Al. Yeah, good. See you. Lawrence. Hi guys. Matthew. Cool. Good to see you checking in. Sarah. Simon. Yeah, looks like everyone's getting in okay, which is good. If anyone knows of any friends that maybe are watching and they're struggling to find it, if you've all bought tickets together, just to share the link or share the YouTube stream if that's okay. Generally, we try and go through Facebook because it's actually quite good for social and sharing after. Here it's a little bit limited in what you can get people viewing after the tasting's finished, so that people can catch up or watch back, and even for us advertising wise to share. But we also have a few customers that we want to keep happy that don't have access to Facebook. Not everyone does, you know. Generally the ones that get on with life and are really loaded, they tend to not have Facebook. So this way, you know, YouTube, anyone can get access to it. So that's essentially why we have to stream a few by YouTube, and it means that everyone can join in, which is great. It looks like everyone's still a few people coming in. So Tim Farmer's with us. Okay, that's good. That's good. So I need to get my stand. Give me 1 second, guys. Got like a tripod that I can use to hold my phone up. Makes it a little bit easier. Everyone's been enjoying the sun today as well, which has been lovely. I guess that's one benefit of staying at home if you're away from work. So today we've got obviously World Whisky, which is a good one. Been looking forward to this one. I do like whiskies from all over the world, especially Japanese. And obviously with this one, we've kept in something from UK, from the guys at the Norfolk distillery, or English distillery from Norfolk. And then we've kept something from Japanese in there. Although Japanese has been, I guess, in a way, slightly overdone. It's not as new to the market. But we're also doing Indian, which a lot of people still don't believe is out there. Strangely, we get people come into the shop and you turn around and got Indian, they're like, what, really? They're all over the place at the moment, but Indian do it really well. Awards left, right, and centre. And then we've got a trip to Canada for whiskey. And we've hopefully got, we're crossing our fingers that the timing works out, but we've got a colleague of ours, PJ, who's the brand ambassador coming on. He was actually brand ambassador for Crystal Head Vodka, which is one of the biggest vodkas out there, and they also own this Signal Hill brand. So he's been quite busy because I think he's been doing one of these earlier in this afternoon as well for the brand itself. So I'm hoping he can join us later and give up a bit more extra of his time today to do that. And I believe housekeeping stuff again, guys. If ever it drops off. Like on this one, we're on YouTube, so if it does drop, come straight back and refresh your page, and obviously I'll go live straight away. Generally, if it's someone like Jas that drops off, that's easy enough for me just to bring him back in and I can fill some time. But obviously, as the host, I just worry that if I drop off at any point, the whole thing will go down and I have to bring it back on. So just making you aware. Last week I did drop off, but it kept going, and I've joined back in again. So hopefully that'll be the case again. Tasting wise, so we've got obviously this one, which is everyone's looking forward to, and then we have just released, but it was this week. We released the next two. So we've got Glenfarclas, which is going to be amazing tasting. That's not starting with their basic ones. That's going the 105, 15, 21-year-old, and 25-year-old. So that's going to be a great tasting. And then also, any of you that have been joining us for the last lot of Swedish whiskies. We're kind of culminating in the climax of their big products. So we've got the Moment Swedish whiskey tasting towards the end of the month, which I think is on Father's Day weekend, on the actual Father's Day itself. So give you hints to the relevant family about getting you a ticket maybe. But that'd be a great one. So all of that range is all their Moment whiskies, which are £100 plus. So it's some serious stuff. And if you've been there for those first two, you've almost had the entry level in the first one. Then you've had their seasonal range, and then now it's time for the top end. And then we've also got any gin fans out there. We've got the gin tasting release as well for the Cambridge gins. And also cocktail lovers. We've got the swinging cocktails, which I know a lot of you guys that are in here tonight have bought tickets for already. That's going to be another great night, a hell of a lot of cocktails, and we'll make sure that you're all mixologists by the end of it. And then you'll be installing bars in your house and having house parties, and away you go. We're all out of jobs. So let me bring Jas in, because I believe, looking at numbers, it looks like we're all in, which is good. And I will get myself out of the way. Let me just bring this out. I'll bring Jas in. And today, Jas is joining us from our shop in St Albans, in fact. Just mainly because we're hoping that the connection's slightly better. And he's got a good camera this time, so everything's looking good. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that we go well. And I think that's it from me. So I think we can get on with things. I mean, we're looking about 22, which is good on timing wise. And yeah, over to you, Jas.
Thank you. Thanks, Shane. Hello, everyone. Lots of new people today, which is great. So hopefully you're going to have a great time. And as always, we've got lots of our old fans with us as well. Not old as in age, but just, some of our seasoned tasters. So as usual, make your comments as we go along. Give us your tasting notes if you have any particular flavors that are popping out. For all you new guys, we're going to walk through the tasting together. So don't kind of jump ahead or feel like you've missed out unless I lose connection and you can't hear me or see me. Just tell me and I'll rewind. Then yeah, Michael, HD today. Yeah, so I'm going to take you through the tasting. As Shane said, we're going to be joined by one guest today. The other one got furloughed in the week, so he cannot be joining us now. But hopefully it still will be good. It'll be good fun. Lots of firsts today in our whiskey. So lots of firsts, whether it's a first whiskey, whether it's a first distillery. So we're really trying to sort of pick and choose the whiskies that that are going to add to the tasting and take you on a journey around the world. So without further ado, let's get on. The first one we're going to go with, I should say, the pouches. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4, but we are going to jump around and go between the different pouches. So I will tell you. Luckily, we're starting off with pouch 1. So where is pouch 1? Yeah. So pouch 1, we have the Tomoka. Okay, so the Tomoka. It's a Japanese blended whiskey. So let me give you a bit of history about Japanese whiskey and just put kind of what Japanese whiskey is and into context. It was really started by a guy called Shinjiro Tori, and his partner at the time was another chap called Masataka Takatsuru, and they wanted to set up the first whiskey distillery in Japan. This is going back to the 1820s. So Shinjiro Tori was kind of the money, the idea. He sent Masataka Takatsuru off to Glasgow and said, go and study, take your degree in chemistry in Glasgow, learn how to make whiskey, come back, and we'll start making whiskey. So while he was there, he got his degree, worked for a couple of distilleries, learned how to make whiskey, got really passionate, fell in love with one of the distiller's daughters, got married and came back to Japan and said, this is what we need to do. Shinjiro had other ideas in terms of where they were going to put the distillery, and what they were going to do as an ethos. So reluctantly, Masataka decided to go along with it. And in 1823, I think it was 1824, they set up and released their first, or set up their first distillery, and then released the first whiskey from their distillery. Shinjiro would have been known as Tori-san, because that's how they say the names. So he flipped the name around and became Suntory, and that is the first branded whiskey makers in Japan. So you had the Suntory range, the Yamazaki Hirokushu. Later on, Masataka set up his own brand called Nika, which a lot of you who come to our shop, and even whiskey fans will probably know the brand Nika whiskey. Now, the thing with Japanese whiskey, in that it's fairly new. So because they only have a couple of distilleries, each brand. So at the time, Suntory had a couple of distilleries, Nika had a couple of distilleries. So in order to make a portfolio, they really specialized in blended whiskey. So they'd create single malts, and then they perfected the art of blending. And so that added different whiskies to the range that they could then release, and had options for people to buy. Different styles, whether it's peaty, whether it be more grain whiskey, more blended malts, alongside their single malts. So this kind of takes us now to Tomoka, which is a blended whiskey. They only do two blended whiskies in their range. They do a blended malt, which is this, and they do a blend of grain and malt, which is the black. But we really only stock the white. We might move on to the black, who knows. So this is Tomoka, which means, what does it mean? It means fragrance of time. And it's from the White Oak Distillery. I don't know if you can see that there. See that? White Oak Distillery, right there. And it was actually the first licensed whiskey distillery in Japan. So they were started long before that, and they specialized in sake and soshu. But in 1919, they got their license to distill whiskey, and they just kept on the back burner. They never touched it. They got the license, but they never did anything with it until 2004, I think it was. So this is actually the first licensed distillery in Japan for whiskey, and that's why we thought it'd be an interesting one to add. It's made just west of Kobe, which is sort of southern, kind of towards the south of Japan. So what we're going to do is we're going to try the first bit of it. So I have my tasting glass. Hopefully some of you have ordered tasting glasses, so you will have one of these. You might need another glass to pour the liquid into as we go along. If you haven't got a tasting glass, maybe something like that is also kind of good. But essentially, you want something that you can swirl the liquid around in and get your nose into, and allow those flavors to really come through. Yeah, so glasses at the ready, and pour in about half of your whiskey. So pouch number one, pour in about 20 ml maybe into the glass, and let's see how we feel. So let's give it a swirl around. Let's get it opened up. Okay, we want to open up the aromas, get oxygen into the whiskey, and help release some of that flavor. So it's only 40%, right? It's probably the lightest of the whiskies that we're tasting today. So it's not going to hit you full on, but as the first whiskey of the day, it's probably going to, give you a little bit of the alcohol kick. Let's put it to the nose and see what you get. So, because it's a blend of malts, I'm definitely getting some of that maltiness. It's not big on the nose, but it's really nice. It's very floral. It's quite fresh, so you can almost smell some of that kind of cereal maltiness. They take their malt from England, so they actually buy their malt from here in England, in the UK. They haven't specified where, but we could hazard a guess as we go through our tasting. We'll probably work it out. And they age these whiskies that they've used in here in sherry casks and bourbon casks, and that's giving that slight complexity that we sort of see. So what do we get? So like I said, I'm getting some of that maltiness. I'm getting that cereal notes. Because of the nature of the whiskey, you're not going to get a lot of raisin. You probably get a little bit milder fruits like apples, maybe. And again, it seems like a lot of the whiskies are aged in bourbon barrels, so like a bit citrusy. And maybe, I reckon if you let that sit for a while and open up, you might get a bit of coconut. Definitely some of those tropical flavors. Tim Sand or straight in floral, also cherry notes. Love it. I think that's a good nose. I'm not getting the cherry necessarily, but Al, was that question? What barrel is this from? Yeah, so these are all American oak barrels and sherry, so Spanish sherry. So the American oak gives us the American oak, by its definition, gives you those vanilla flavors. It's a white oak, hence white oak distillery, and so you're going to get those classic kind of vanilla. You get a hint of spice in there. You might pick up some spice early on, or certainly a little bit on the palate. Let's go for a little flavor. So let's go for little dabs. Just a little dab on the tip of your tongue. Just get it in there. Let it sit around. Let it move around the palate, and just get your mouth used to the alcohol, and see if you can get some of that flavor. The first one, we just want to kind of get past that alcohol, and the second sip, we get that flavor. So I've just got a little tiny bit on my tongue, and straight away I'm getting a little tingle, and it's kind of almost got a little kind of clovey kind of kick, maybe. Sarah Kay is getting sweet apple, melon almost. Yeah, definitely getting some of that lighter fruit. Definitely you got vanilla, 100%. That's all coming through from that bourbon oak. Yeah, vanilla notes, 100%. Let's go for a slightly bigger sip this time, and this time just hold it on your palate for a little bit, just a little bit, and let it kind of work its way round, okay? Or not chew it necessarily, but just let it sit there and work its way across, okay? We don't just want to sip it and take it down. We want to release some of those flavors, and the way to do that is to hold it in your palate and let your mouth start doing some work. What do you think? It's actually really good. It's light, it's soft, which is kind of what it's meant to be. It's not meant to be like rich and robust. It's not meant to like blow your mind away and say this is what Japanese whiskey is about. This is meant to be this kind of whiskey. It's just meant to be light, floral, fruity. It's meant to be approachable. Do we know how old this one is? So it's unaged. Typically, the answer to it is no, I don't. But I would imagine it's made up of blends between 3 to 7 years old. maybe 8 years old. Oh, losing connection. Have you got me? Yeah. So you're going to get those lovely sort of floral, fruity notes. Am I totally lost? I feel like I'm totally gone. Let me know. Let me know if you're losing me. So with this Japanese whiskey, again, because it's location in the world, right? It's a hot country where this is made. It's like I said, it's further south, so it gets very, very hot, and it gets very, very cool in the winter. So the whiskey goes for a real journey. And in the barrel, it means because it's American oak, the oak really takes in the liquid in those hot days. It gives it loads of flavor and then brings it back in as it gets cooler. And what they do to increase the younger market. So, you know, the Japanese market in that younger generation, the mid-20s, you know, especially now they're becoming more affluent. They want to get people buying their whiskey. They want to introduce them to whiskies. And so this is kind of that introduction whiskey. A lot of distilleries now, the ones we mentioned earlier, some other whiskies, they are now making styles like this, particularly designed to bring the younger market in. So if you remember Hague whiskey from Diageo was a blend of grains, and they used David Beckham to bring that younger market in, bring that audience in, that female audience as well. Interesting, I'm just looking at the comments here. Mary Jane said slight smokiness with a question mark. So one of the whiskies they've used in this has about 10% part per million of smoke. So it's really there just to give it a little warmth, give it a little extra depth and structure. I haven't picked it out. I haven't picked it out, but it's interesting that you do. So that's really good. If anyone else that gets any smoke, let me know. So what we're going to do, the way they designed to kind of bring that audience in is to add soda, right? Now, I know there's a lot of my friends and family on this particular tasting, and a lot of you will know and probably have seen my dad and my uncles and stuff together. Often, back in the day, it wouldn't be unusual to see them with a bottle of blended whiskey, a jug of water and some ice, and that's how you drink it. Whiskey with ice. And that is very much, it appears to be very much an Asian, sort of an Eastern way of drinking. And particularly because it's hot, right? So they want to make the whiskey, it's not really designed to be sip neat in many ways. They need whiskies that are going to fill the profile for all their audience at all times of the year. So with this, we're going to add some soda. You all got a bottle of Fever Tree soda in your whiskey packs. Who said chocolate? Martin. A bit of chocolate in the aftertaste. Amazing. Yeah, you know what? Actually, so one of their tasting notes with this is white chocolate. So it's not one that I mentioned, but it's amazing that you picked it out. If anyone else does, if anyone else gets white chocolate, let me know. That is amazing. I'm loving that. Right. Okay, so soda. If you want to top up your whiskey, you can do. Otherwise, all we're looking to do is add about double the amount of soda to the whiskey. Okay, so I've got like, I don't know, whatever it is, 10 ml. So I'm going to add maybe that much soda, maybe a little bit less, to the whiskey. You don't want to drown it out. So I would say go in with little amount. And if you want to add more, then add more. But don't drown it out. The purpose is not to drown the whiskey. It's designed to make the whiskey just a little bit longer and kind of be drunk on those hot summer days, right? So let's just add a little bit in. Okay, so a little touch in there. Okay, so I'm still getting the whiskey. And what the water does, it opens up the extra flavors. So you start getting all these extra top notes that you miss when it's neat and kind of constricted at 40%. So, and then we've got an orange. So take a little orange peel. We don't want to cut a wedge. We don't want to cut a slice unless you really want to. But essentially, just an orange peel. Give a little squeeze of the peel into the glass. I'm going to use one of these dried dried oranges that we sell in the shop here, just because I didn't have an orange, so I'm just gonna drop that in my glass. And after a few minutes, that orange will start coming through. It will rehydrate with the alcohol and start adding that flavour. So you should create a long drink, add a bit of ice, add a bit more whiskey if you want to. Create a bit of a long drink. Definitely need a whiskey top up. We finished first pour. So yeah, by all means, add more. Add your soda, add a bit of ice, add your orange. If anyone's got a cherry in the background, anyone's got a cherry in the fridge, it wasn't something we put in the email, but if you do have, you know, a glassy cherry or maraschino cherry somewhere in your cupboards, just drop that in as well, because I think you'll find that it just adds like this extra flavour and this extra dimension to the drink. Yeah. So let's give it a taste. Yeah, I definitely added too much soda. So if you do add too much soda, just top it up with whiskey, and savour it. And now with that orange, I'm getting all these like kind of mapley notes, sort of maple syrup maybe. Pulled out a bit more citrus notes as well. Tim says, interesting with soda, but wins neat for me. Yeah, you know what, Tim? I don't really add soda. It's kind of just what we wanted to do was show you what the purpose of this style of whiskey is, and how it would be drunk and promoted in places like Japan, which is with soda. So for the tasting purposes, I thought it'd be quite interesting. So yeah, let me know your comments with soda, or whether you like it without soda. I got to tell you, if it was a hot day, if it was a really hot day, I was in my garden, it would be something I might add soda to and make it nice and long, or I might add ginger ale. But overall, I think it's a very, very nice whiskey. Anyone that knows or has come across Japanese whiskies will know that it's very vast. There's lots of whiskey. They make great single malt. And the rise of Japanese whiskey is probably, I mean, obviously it's been around for a long time, but it's probably it's down to the two Murrays that really put Japanese whiskey on the map. So you had Bill Murray with the film Lost in Translation, talked about Yamazaki 12-year-old. If you haven't seen the film, go and watch it. So he kind of introduced Japanese whiskey to the world with that film. And then Bill Murray, no relation, but is this well-respected whiskey writer, and kind of whatever he says goes. If he says this is the #1 whiskey this year, then everyone buys it. Distilleries run out, and the price just goes upwards. So Bill Murray in 2013 gave the Yamazaki sherry cask, gave the Yamazaki sherry the 2013 whiskey of the year, and that again put Yamazaki on the map, and whiskey that we saw just went crazy. So it's really down to the two Murrays that this is agreed. Martin says, agree with ginger ale. Yeah, absolutely. This type of whiskey you could mix with ginger ale, water, Coke. No, I'd probably say no. You don't want to drown the flavors out, but certainly soda and ginger ale are going to help bring out those flavors. So yeah, that's good. That's our first whiskey. Let us know what you think. Simon E, no soda water. Credit Carlsberg Export. You know what? Actually, I've had beer and whiskey together, and yeah, I think I was probably quite drunk at the time, but at the time it seemed quite good. Mary Jane, no water. Who's got no water? Okay, so let us know. That's our Japanese whiskey, the White Oak. 40% Japanese first licensed distillery. A blend, and very approachable, and a good introduction to what Japanese whiskey is all about. So
I've just been on with PJ. He needs an extra 5 minutes, but he is almost ready to go. So I don't know if we can just fill with if anyone's got any more questions, or just I mean, maybe put you a bit on the spot, Jas. You know, obviously when we first opened the shop,
Yeah.
Or when you first opened back in whenever it was, I mean, going back a long time ago now, Japanese had just literally come to the market, because I remember Tim at the time, one of the business partners, he was obviously a massive sort of pioneer of this coming over. Every time he came back from Japan, when he was bringing these stuff, and he was just adamant we get it in the shop. And that was at the time when Hibiki, you know, had the 12 and 17s at really credible value. I guess from that stage, from that point now, from there, when almost no one knew about it, to now everyone knowing about it, is there kind of going to be a bubble burst on Japanese whiskey?
Do you know what? I don't think so. I mean, the prices are going up, right? The prices are going up, but what they're doing is counteracting that with these entry-level whiskies. So they're kind of appealing now to a younger market, maybe a market that is ready to spend some money. Suntory have released the Toki, which is designed to do that. They've released the Cheetah or the Kita from the Kita distillery. Again, it's a lighter whiskey, much more reduced price point. Yamazaki and Hakushu, they did the Founders Reserve. So again, it wasn't an age statement whiskey, but it was essentially an expression of what those two distilleries are about. And again, was half the price of their 12-year-old. And even Hibiki, as you said, Hibiki shot through the roof. The prices on Hibiki 12 and 17 now are absolutely ridiculous. It's kind of not even worth buying, right, to drink. But they've released then the Harmony. So again, it's a slightly different blend. So I'm in the shop window here. I've got people looking in. We're closed. I got a card. Yeah, Shane, talk for a second. I'll give you.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear, because we have we've always had Japanese whiskey in, and it always, it's quite I wouldn't say heartbreaking, because that's a bit overselling it, but it's annoying that we can't have some of these whiskies in, because I used to love Hibiki 12 and 17, although I was actually a fan of the 12 more than I was a 17 year, funny enough. Yamazaki with the Yamazaki 12, we've had all of the Yamazaki 18s through. We have had Hakushus in, Tim, and we used to actually do them at our bar as well. We had the Hakushu 12, 18 at one point, when the 18 was, again, you know, at sort of 80 odd pounds a bottle. It was they were cheap, whereas now, you know, Hakushu 18 is about 500, 600 quid. Yamazaki even more than that. The 12 and the 17 of the Hibikis are kind of in the 500-600 mark. Some might be going cheap, you know, if you can get them on the auctions when they start up, because there are people that, you know, dare I say, a little bit desperate at the moment. So they might have been holding on to some whiskey, but they want some money back. And they're not going to go for as much as they were. But this will always recover. So if you can find stuff now that's cheap, that's one thing. Some of the ones we've never had through, I think it's the geishas. From, I think it's Kurosawa Distillery. You know, they kind of went under, mainly because they put all their whiskey out to investment, and they realised, actually, hang on, we've got nothing to sell. So that's why now all their bottles are sort of 10 grand plus. So we've never had a chance for that. So we've always been with sort of Nikka, Yamazaki. We did have, well, actually, we had the Tomoka. This is our most newest one in, actually. This was through the guys that actually provided us our Glendalough gin. They brought this to our attention. So it's the first new Japanese we've had in for quite a while. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that it's gone like that, because, you know, some of the Hibiki was a fabulous whiskey. I mean, the Hibiki itself was a blend of all of their whiskies, Hakushu and Yamazaki. So you kind of got the best of both worlds in that.
Just a question, unrelated to whiskey. Sam is messaging asking how he makes comments. I'm not sure how you do that. Do you have any? Do you know how he does that?
For comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, on YouTube, when you're viewing, it depends where you're viewing it from. If you're viewing it from a phone, you scroll down past the recommended videos. You scroll down, and then there's a comment section, and you can just. I think it's like a live feed, live chat. Live chat is the. I believe it's at the top or bottom. I'm going to try and find it now so I can let him know.
What? Oh, live chat. Okay, fine. Okay. Lauren says it works in the browser. Okay. Cool. All right. Sorry, unrelated whiskey question there. So yeah, that's is PJ ready? Do we think?
No, he's not in now at the moment. I mean, just chase him up and make sure he's getting in okay.
All right. Good. So barrels and maturation is really important to whiskey. These guys use bourbon and sherry, which is quite common now. A lot of distilleries will use a combination of bourbon and sherry. Two things: the bourbon, American wood. So bourbon can only be used once, right? So the bourbons that we see, part of their regulation is you can only use new make American oak made into a barrel, and you use it once, and you have to discard it. So what they do with those discarded barrels, they sell them to Scotland, they sell them to India, they sell them to Japan, they sell them to Sweden, and so they then recoup some money back out of it. And what the other countries then get is a whiskey that has a bit of depth, a bit of flavour, that has been used, and then is better for that longer term aging. So it allows them to create an extra depth of flavour. So you only need three things really to make whiskey: water, yeast, and barley or grain. But for me, the really sort of the magic happens with the wood, with the sherry, with the bourbon, with any type of wood that you're going to use. That's where it happens, and the different levels of climate, humidity, all has an effect, as we're going to see as we go along, on the type of whiskey.
We've got PJ here, just to let you know.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, we may as well move on. So, guys, just before PJ jumps in, we're going to move on to pouch number 4. Okay, so pouch number 4. We're going to jump around a little bit, but we've gone for pouch number 4, and we're going to use that next.
Cool. Right, I'm going to step out then, and then I'm going to let you introduce PJ.
Yeah, cool. Guys, get your pouch 4 at the ready. Hey, PJ.
How you doing, Jess? You all right, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
How's it going? You well?
Yeah, I'm very good. First of all,
Amazing.
Congratulations on.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. Amazing.
How's it going, man? How is everyone out there? I think you guys have probably tried. What number am I?
So you're second on.
Amazing. All right, cool. So what did you start with?
So we started with so just to sort of ease everyone in, we started with a Japanese Tomoka.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
you know them boys really well. So Daryl, Paddy. Yeah.
Love those boys. Love those boys.
Yeah. So we introduced that at first as our entry one, add a little bit of soda to it, before we sort of then went into a bit more of a fuller flavour. So PJ, so let me introduce PJ to you. We got introduced a while ago, many years ago, when actually first time I met you. I think you were doing, was it Luxasoa? Was it?
I think I was doing Yelovka then. That was like no, it couldn't have been, or maybe. I think that was 15, no, about 10, 12 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, around about then. And then obviously you're the man responsible for bringing Crystal Head.
Yeah, that's my baby.
Yeah. So the skull vodkas, these ones right here.
Nice.
Crystal Head.
Love it. Love it.
That's PJ's the main man for that stuff. And a funny story actually, on the Crystal Head, we had, we came down to London. And,
I remember that. I remember that when you guys came down for that party when you met Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd, he signed the bottle, right? He signed the bottle.
He did, yeah.
We had it on the back bar of Makoko.
Yeah.
Right? And one day the cleaner came in.
Oh yeah, she wiped it off.
She wiped it off. She wiped off his autograph. So now we just So anyway, so now you moved on. Well, you're still doing that, but you've also taken...
So Signal Hill it's a brand part of the same family, the same house that makes Crystal Head makes Signal Hill. So we the bosses started working on the whiskey a few years ago, and the one thing they wanted to do was create something that was quite easy. just like they did with Crystal Head. But the one difference with this is if it's a whiskey, you have your legislations, right? So you got your rules, regulations, and you got to make sure that you don't break them. And with Signal Hill, it was a good 4 years in the making until we launched it last year. It's 4 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, not being biased or anything, but I think we've definitely like made a very, very good whiskey. So in Canada, the minimal years of aging for a whiskey is 3 years. So this is a minimum of 3, but an average of 5.
Okay.
We make Signal Hill with 2 different grains. So we use a corn and barley grain, but we actually distill them separately. So we have the original. We have Canadian corn, which is a column distilled, and then you have the barley, which is copper pot stilled, and then we put them together, and then we rest them in 3 different barrels. The one thing we wanted to do was be a little bit different to your traditional Canadian whiskies, and so what we did was we put it. Well, obviously we let them distill separately, blend them together, and then once they're blended, we leave them in 3 different casks. So this symbol at the front, is called the Valknut, and the Valknut is a Norse symbol. It is a Viking symbol, so it represents the warrior, the hardship that the Vikings had to. They did, but the reason that we have it on our bottle is because Signal Hill is produced in a place called Newfoundland, which is the most eastern point of Northern America, and we make the whiskey there. And the difference between us and other Canadian whiskeys is that we're a blend of 2 different grains. Like I said, we distill the barley and we distill the corn, blend them together, and then we let them rest in 3 different styles of cask.
Okay.
So we have a Canadian whiskey cask, a New American oak, and then also a bourbon cask. So you get loads of flavor, man. Like, it's such a beautiful whiskey to taste. And while we're here, I want to have one with you guys. So
yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah, man. I'm glad. I'm glad you got some.
So everyone, pouch number 4. Okay, pouch number 4. Pour about half of the pouch into your tasting glass, and then we'll let PJ take us through a little tasting.
So the one thing you will have is a lot of dried fruit on your nose. It's quite sweet. You can taste a lot of sugar, but there's no sugar, right? So what we do is we try and make sure that the liquid inside is just as simple as we try and make it. 3 different casks, 2 different grains. The water is very important. So the water that we use is Newfoundland water from, like I said, Newfoundland. Some of the most purest form of water known to man. And it really does make a difference when you're producing whiskey.
It's so important. Water is like a massive, massive part of whiskey.
100%. And we're using Newfoundland water, which is one of the most purest forms of water known to man.
Yeah.
Quite proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the nose, as you said, it's a lot of dry fruit.
Yep.
You kind of feel like you're getting some of that maple, maybe. Yeah, hints of vanilla as well. Let's go for a taste, guys. Actually, on the percent, so we're at 40%. It's got a big nose, really big nose.
It does.
So that's all from the cask, right? That's the different sherry.
If you think about what the cask gives to it, right? So you've got 3 different casks. You've got the New American oak. It'll give hints of vanilla, right? You've got the the Canadian whiskey cask that will also give it off their own flavor they have. Like, it's like dried cherries and stuff like that. And then the last cask is obviously a first first used American oak cask, right? So first American bourbon cask. So
Yeah.
what you're actually left with is all the char that's in the barrel will give you this amazing fruit flavor. It's dry. It's not. It's not like it's a fruit salad. But what you will know that it's got a nice kick to it.
Yeah.
Someone said it packs a punch. I hope so. But it is a really good sipping whiskey. You could easily mix it as well. I did a class, a session earlier on how to make drinks with the Signal Hill.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not the one I drank. That's the bottle.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think this one it's a great sipping whiskey. I'm not trying to be biased. I mean, you've got an amazing array of right. We've got vanilla and a little licorice. Yes, the licorice normally comes off the back of the 40% ABV alcohol. The vanilla you'd always get because you'll get that from the barrel. You know, so each barrel adds to what you're drinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are your thoughts, man? I know you haven't drank it, but I've had a lot of people try this, and they were just kind of like, "Wow, we haven't had this type of whiskey before. This is different. This is cool."
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, people might think, well, you know, Canadian whiskey, you know, who even had, I mean, there's a lot of Canadian brands, right? There's a lot of very well-known Canadian brands.
Yeah.
This is the first one that we've even looked at, and it's the first time I've tried it. But I mean, it's so big. It's big on the nose, and the flavor on the palate. I mean, you're getting all those. It's almost like it's been aged for 10 years. It's big. I love. Someone said Christmas cake flavors. I love that. You get the sultanas.
Oh, yeah. we were definitely drinking this at Christmas, 100%, and it was great. But you know, at the same time, every whiskey has a time, right? So every spirit has a time. At lunchtime, in the morning it's vodka, in the afternoon it's gin, in the evening it's brown spirit. It's just like the seasons. So you know, having had the pleasure of working around for quite a while in the industry, I can tell you that Canadian whiskey is also one that was quite forgotten. So it's not been something that was very big in Europe or especially in the UK, but it is coming, and I'm quite proud to be bringing it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got an amazing array of whiskeys here for all your guests today, but we are trying to do something that's pretty special, to make something that is sippable but enjoyable. At the same time, it's important to mix. You know, next time we do this, Jess, we'll make some drinks for your guests as well.
Yeah, cool. So, in terms of mixing them, what would you do with it?
Honestly, this makes a really, really good maple old fashioned.
Yeah, totally. I can totally
maple syrup old fashioned. If anyone wants one of those, you've got to try it out. It is amazing.
I was going to say that. I was literally going to come on and say this will make a great old fashioned with maple syrup.
There you go. There you go. I did a session this afternoon where they had dropped some sea salt into maple syrup, shook it around, left it for a couple of days, and a salted old fashioned. Actually, a salted maple syrup sounds pretty cool for me. So I think I'm definitely gonna make one this weekend.
Yeah, don't blame you. You know, even like I love a champagne cocktail, right?
Yeah.
So you could substitute the cognac and put that in. I think that would work amazing. It will counter that dryness.
Yeah.
You know, of the champagne. That would work really well.
100%, man.
Limitless. It's endless, right? In what you could do with this.
Dude, we tried to make a whiskey that was mixable but also sippable at the same time, and there's not many whiskeys that can do that. So we're very proud of our Signal Hill.
So how old is the brand? How old is the
brand? Launched? I think the brand launched about last year. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, beginning of last year we launched Signal Hill.
Yeah.
And what we have done is, you know, we work with a lot of Europe's top bartenders making on drinks and trying to develop what we're trying to do, man. I'm trying to read everything that your guests are doing.
Yeah.
You have like maple syrup, dried fruit flavor. Yeah, exactly. You know,
Cocktail early in the morning, right? I like that. That's the right time to have it. Yeah.
It kind of goes with everything, man. We one of my favorite drinks with this, yes, it is like a maple old fashioned. We use maple just because you don't need sugar, and maple kind of works because it's Canadian and blah blah blah. But it's a very good whiskey all round.
Yeah.
You know, you can. One of our signature drinks in the UK is adding some sherry to it. So you put some sherry,
nice.
you put some Signal Hill, you put some sherry, ice, and top it up with ginger ale. It's just nice.
Love it.
It's a nice Signal Hill cooler.
Yeah,
It
nice.
works really, really well.
So what
That's
kind of
easy.
sherry you use?
Sorry?
Use Fino sherry or Oloroso or?
Well, normally you would use Amontillado, but I've only got Fino, so I'm definitely having that today.
Okay, and it's good. It's still good, even though it's slightly dry.
It's very good. It dries it out, but that's the thing, right? So when you taste this on its own, you get a lot of flavor. Like you get a lot of fruit, you got a lot of sweetness. So the idea is when you drop the sherry in, and you top it up with ginger ale, it kind of dries it out, but it also still is very, very tasty.
I say, yeah, because you got the sweetness in this. I think
Exactly. You don't need to add anything else.
Yeah. Martin says very smooth. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It doesn't have any burn. It's just got loads of flavor. It's almost just like this honeyed liquid just going. You know what? When you have a cough, this is what you want.
Mate, I don't know about that, man. It's up to you. I have to promote responsible drinking. So yeah.
I quite like this in funny enough, actually, it's summertime. I quite like this in like a whiskey sour, but maybe supplement a bit of cherry.
It makes a good whiskey sour.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
Love it. It's good.
Love it. Well, look, PJ, I know you got to shoot
Listen,
off.
thank you so much for having me on, man. Everyone that's watching, thank you very much. Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your tasting. You're with two of the most talented people I know. So, you're gonna have an amazing evening. Take it easy, guys. God bless.
Thank you, man.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Enjoy your night. That was PJ. That was Signal Hill. Shane, what did you think?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, I think I'm one of those. I think because of the sweetness in it, I would kind of prefer it as like a cocktail serve, and because I like having those kind of whiskey. But I probably wouldn't go too complicated. Like I think a straight old-fashioned serve is just, and it's easier to do. It's easier to do when you're at home. You know, that's an easy array of ingredients to get together. But I like it neat. I wouldn't add water to it personally, in my opinion. I like it as it is.
Yeah. It's 40%, so it doesn't necessarily need it.
It's surprising. It tastes like it's stronger than that.
Do you think so?
The first hit, yeah, especially when I was out on the nose and that, you would think it's a little bit more. Not a lot, maybe 43, 44%.
Yeah. I think you get fooled by the flavour because the flavour's so big. But that's our Signal Hill. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed that. First time trying Canadian whiskey for many of you, I would hope or assume. Let us know what you think. And that's the bottle right there, Signal Hill. You can see it's lovely, rich in colours, lovely sort of amber colour. If you compare that to the Tomoka, two different liquid colours. Big colours, big flavours. So Signal Hill, Newfoundland, brand new to us, hopefully brand new to you. So you can savour that, and you have plenty more in your pouch, and maybe you should try one of those old fashions. I don't know. Can we send a recipe for an old fashioned?
I can send a list out. Yeah, I can send a list out. Interestingly, if anyone's interested in our swinging cocktails night, we're doing a lot of prohibition cocktails there. So one of them is an old fashioned, and a sour base. So you'll definitely get to learn them in there. But we can always send the recipes out of the drinks we were just talking about, PJ. Some of them are so easy to make, especially in old fashioned. It's something that you can easily put together at home with minimal effort. So yeah, we can get that out to people. That's not a problem. Right, I'll let you get on with this next one, and I'll get this. Just obviously make sure the pouch is going to be different again. So,
yeah.
The next one we've got now is going to be pouch two, and I'll put it on the streamer at the bottom here so that there's no mix up.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Going with pouch number 2, and it's our third whiskey. This is the English whiskey. Okay, so this is the English whiskey. All right, so we're coming back home, right here to England, and we've gone for one of their limited releases, the Virgin Oak. So they actually do 2 in their core range. I believe this is now part of their new core range, but originally it was the English Original and the English Smoky, and we've gone for one of their well, it was an experiment to start with, and it was so good. They felt it was so good. They've now, and it was in such demand that they've now made it part of their core. Although at the moment there's only 2,689 bottles, so they might have to bring out some more. Non-age statement, I believe. Well, 6 years old is what it is. So let me tell you about English whiskey. While I do that, you may as well pour some into your glass. Like I said, half the amount, say 20 ml. We're not adding anything to this. We're not going to do anything to this one. And kind of savor what English whiskey is all about. Percentage-wise, it's 46%. So it's sort of definitely a step up from the other 2 that we've had so far. So English whiskey started in 2006 by a chap called Nelstrup. Can't remember his first name. And he was big into cereal production, barley production, and he decided that he was going to set up his own whiskey company in Norfolk. So Norfolk, that's where they're based, and actually a lot of so they grow their own barley there, which actually probably arguably grows some of the best barley in the UK right there in Norfolk. They have their water source, as PJ was talking about. Water source is super important, and they have this thing called a Brecon aquifer, which is a water source that sits, God, you could Google it, but it's something like 50 feet or 100 feet down, or 50 meters down in the ground. So it's super pure. It's like one of the most pure water sources in the UK. So they've got great water. They've got some of the best barley. And in fact, a lot of the Scotch distilleries buy their barley from the Norfolk guys. So in terms of the base products, you're starting off a really good footing. So Nelstrup decided to get into the art of whiskey making in 2006. I believe they released their first one after 3 years, so 2009. Actually, so we tried a lot of it. We sort of followed the journey as they went along, and they released them as chapters. So chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and they kind of came along as they sort of reached various benchmarks in the aging process of the whiskey. And to be honest, a lot of it wasn't great, and we stopped using it. We stopped selling it until a couple of years ago, when they rebranded. They came of age, so to speak, and they started bottling whiskies. They're still unaged now, but the whiskies they're using are around 10 years old. The only reason they're not putting age statements is because it's a little bit inconsistent in terms of their, how long they've been making whiskey. But they started getting really good, and there was some really good depth. We get a lot of people coming into the shop who've tried the English whiskey at one of our tastings and keep coming back to buy it. So as a quality whiskey, it's very, very good. But what we did here is we took the Virgin Oak, which is, like I said, they released last year. And it's different because it's aged in Virgin Oak casks, right? So we've talked a lot about casks today and the importance of them. And a lot of whiskies have been made in Spanish sherry casks. They've used bourbon casks, but used bourbon casks. These guys have gone with Virgin Oak, so they're brand new casks not been used anywhere else, and the flavor profile is completely different, right? So let's give it a swirl. You're gonna have to give it a swirl because at 46%, you don't want to put your nose in and just get blown away with alcohol and kind of trigger your mind as you don't like this, right? So let it sit around. Hold it maybe away from your nose at first while you swirl it around, and let some of those top notes of whiskey come to you. So for me, yeah, quite fruity, lovely kind of appley notes like green apple, maybe a little bit of stone fruit, a little bit of peach or apricot, just kind of subtly there, and definitely a lot of citrus and vanilla, which kind of comes through now. Oh, and it's got so, as you get into it, it's got so many big flavors. Oak on the nose is very powerful. Yeah, Tim, absolutely. It's one of the things, right? It's virgin oak, and so it's going to hit you with that oak. That's kind of what they're after. They want to get that oakiness, and it's big. 46%. Yeah, and that vanilla, it's almost like it's roasted or toasted, or you know what I mean. It's not like a fragrant vanilla. Jacial, yeah, vanilla definitely. So let's go in with a little taste. So I will warn you, 46%. So maybe just do that thing where we have a little sip first and then take it. Mm. Ah. Wow. So that flavor really goes on, doesn't it? It really goes. It's like Mary Jane hit it on the nose. Gets right banana. Yeah, so banoffee pie. Yeah, absolutely. So, right, so what you're getting is that virgin oak, right? And that virgin oak is giving you those lovely tropical notes, right? It's kind of a classic trait of virgin oak. And that new, you know, that lovely kind of tropical. So some people get like cooked banana. You're getting a mixture of that vanilla and that toffee. So you know, Sanjay says it's sharp and bold. Yeah. So the sharpness probably could be the strength. But trust me, when you let that sit and you let it sit, you know, if you had another glass and you let this one sit just for 10 minutes, go back to it, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Coffee, yeah. You know what? Yeah, absolutely. So there is a little bit of coffee and chocolate. They typically use Jim Beam casks for their whiskey, so this will be a Jim Beam cask. So it's going to have a lovely kind of, you know, in terms of where they make it, it's going to be very kind of a porous type of wood. This is a lot of people are saying is kind of like bigger, is bolder, it's got much more impact than the other two. In terms of its punch, right? A lot of that might be the ABV. Yeah, Lauren says she also gets banana flavor. Banana wasn't something I picked out, but now you say it, yeah. So what do we get on the palate? You're getting that banana. Is anyone getting some of that nuttiness? Again, it's a kind of classic trait of a virgin oak. You might get maybe some almond, or if it's aged a bit longer, so this is 6 years old, that almond might be almost like an amaretto type, you know, maybe kind of a little bit richer, a little bit. All in good time, Lawrence. All in good time. Chocolate will appear very, very soon. Sansa says a drop of water opens it up. Absolutely right. And this is something that I don't always mention, and kind of led by my own preference. But if you want to add a bit of water to it, absolutely. I like the flavors, you know, kind of at that strength, and sometimes just letting it sit there allows them to open up. But if you want to add water, please do. And use that experience to kind of get extra flavors out of it. But yeah, it's all about those big kind of flavors on the palate. Maybe on the finish, what are you getting on the finish? Is it still chocolate? Is it still banana, or are they developing a little bit you know, maybe some of that pepper's coming out. Matthew's getting a little bit of spice after as well. Yeah, good. Good, absolutely, yeah. So again, it's a kind of classic trait. You should get a little bit of pepper. For me, it's coming there right now on the finish. That lovely kind of pepper. And that's not really the alcohol so much. That is kind of the characteristics of the whiskey. Only a drop or two, mind you. Absolutely, Sanjay. Yes, absolutely. You don't want to drown it out, right? You just want to open up the flavors and let some of that oiliness kind of open up. Yeah, Rena's definitely getting some spicy notes on the maybe on the finish. Yeah. So yeah, that is, and you know what I love about it? It's still fresh because it's so young. It still maintains this lovely freshness with a different depth of flavor. So unlike the Signal Hill, which is all about those dried fruits, those Christmas cake flavors, you know, lots of big raisins, maple syrup. This is almost a completely different whiskey, but still giving you so much flavor. So this is it, right? So when we started getting introduced to English whiskey a couple of years back, again, this is when they really sort of, we felt, started coming of age. And they also do, I don't know if you can see it on the shelf there, these two bottles here, they have a rum cask. I'll show you them. So they have a rum cask, right, and a double cask. So that is a double cask aged in bourbon and Oloroso. So if you imagine that kind of that backbone of the whiskey that you've tried, and then aged in that lovely rum cask to give it some real punch and flavour and sweetness, and all those extra sort of tropical notes, and then the double cask kind of being more of a classic Scotch with a hint of Oloroso, and then that bourbon age. I think the whiskies are going to be really good. I've not tried those two, but I think they're going to be amazing. If this is anything to go by, then it's going to be really good. So that was our English whiskey. Like I said, 2006, the first distillery in the UK. So that's our first with this whiskey. They were the first English distillery. So they have the oldest stocks of all English distilleries. There's only about, I think, 11 now, 11 whiskey distilleries, maybe a few more, but they're all quite young. But this is the oldest one now, the oldest stock. They sit up there in Norfolk, where the climate is very sort of constant, which allows a really smooth, long, kind of continuous aging process. And actually, they're master distiller, right? So this guy called Dave Fitt, he's the master distiller there. He lives on site in the distillery, and as I said, the guy that was meant to come and join us today has just been furloughed, but Dave has continued, still working throughout. And he won in 2017. He won Master Distiller of the Year, and then he won it again in 2019. So he's won it twice now, Master Distiller of the Year. Actually, no, I think he won it in 2020. So he won it this year. So he won it in 2017 and 2020, which kind of shows you, as a brand, what they're doing and how good they're now beginning to be regarded by the whiskey world. So definitely try some of the English whiskey. Like I said, there's the other two, and the original and the smoky. Anyone else getting a sort of pear drop taste? Yeah, you know what? Definitely at the start, on the nose, I was getting some of the apple. Yeah, it could be that kind of white fruit. But you know what? Now I've left it, I'm getting some of that kind of pear drops. It's kind of a mixture of that citrus and that fruit. Lovely, lovely whiskey. Let us know your thoughts. How do you find that? How's that compared to the other two? Are you surprised that it's English whiskey? Has anyone ever tried English whiskey? Let us know what you think. We really like it. We're actually doing a lot of work with them. So that's our English whiskey, Virgin Oak, very different to the others. So we're going to move on to our final whiskey. And this, I know a couple of you like Sam would have definitely had before, because I know they're big fans of it, and hopefully some of you else, some others of you might. I want it to be a first for you, but I appreciate it might not be. And we've got Indian whiskey and the Amrit. Okay, the Amrit Fusion. Like I said, I know some of you have had this before, but it's just too good not to put on the list. So let me tell you about Amrit whiskey. So whiskey started as the history of whiskey, right? Where it started from. Michael, you're in for a treat. Very good, but I prefer the Scotch, I think. Okay, cool. All right, but let's see what you think of the Indian. Whiskey started off as a Gaelic term called Uscavar, right? Water of life. Uscavar means water of life. And it's, it's something that is used across the world. The French have eau de vie, Latin is aquavitae, Scandinavians have aquavit, all means water of life. Amrit in Sanskrit means life water, or elixir of life, or the drink of the gods, but essentially life water. So again, it's the same thing. It's about the water, and it's kind of turning it into something that is kind of this liquid gold. Amrit is our first single malt Indian whiskey, right? They were the first ones to produce a single malt Indian whiskey. And this is the fusion that we've gone for today. They do many in their range, but this is the one that kind of is a true representation of what Amrit is and what it's going to be and what it could be. It's won many awards. So in 2010, I was telling you about Jim Murray. Jim Murray gave it third best in the world in his whiskey Bible, and it kind of just put Amrit on the map. That was in 2010. Last year, the Bartender's Choice Awards, it was given the Bartender's Choice as their #1 whiskey. So that is another kind of international recognized award. They started in 1948, so they're just over 70 years old. They're based in Bangalore, so kind of, I mean, not directly in the middle of India, but as close as you can get. So they're not surrounded by any sort of sea. They're not surrounded by land. There you go. Shane's got some images. This is the Amrit single malt. So the single malt is kind of a couple to the right of the fusion, which is dead center in the middle. Again, sort of saying that we are the showcase. This is the showcase of our brand. And as I said, started in 1948, made in Bangalore, which has massive effect on the type of whiskey because it's very, very hot. There's no sea surrounding it. Sandra, have you opened it up? You've opened it up already. Okay, all right. Let's move in. Let's move in for a little taste, a little nose, and I'll tell you the story afterwards. So get your glass or get your pouch. So this is pouch number 3. Pouch number 3, the last one. Mind you, it's 50%, right? So we've stepped up again in terms of volume. So it's gonna want to kind of punch you in the face. And I will tell you, get your chocolate at the ready, right? This is where we're going to introduce some of the chocolate. But let's try it without the chocolate first, right? Like I said, 1948, made in Bangalore, very, very hot, right? So the whiskey they found ages 3 times quicker than a Scotch, right? So it can be a relatively young whiskey that give you amazing, amazing flavour, all right? They age it in bourbon casks, sherry casks. They get their grain from the foothills of the Himalayas, right? That's where they get their grain from. They bring it down and they make the whiskey in Bangalore. Let's go for a little nose. So let's swirl it around a bit. Let's open it up. Letting mine breathe as well. Yeah, good shout, Al. So can't take him any. Yeah, I know. I've known him a lot of years. So, right. So, when you nose, you often see people doing this, right? So your nose works better. Each nostril works better at different times of the day. And what we're trying to do is find which nostril is working better at this point in time. And everyone's nose is going to be different. So today, right now, this side is working better for me. And right, so let me know what you're getting. It does smell amazing, Michael. Yeah, and it's only about six years old, if that. Which means it's kind of heading up to 15 to 18 years old, depending on the age of the whiskies they're putting in. See, Michael, yeah, you see, you're getting the smokiness. That's very interesting because it's very subtle, right? So it's called the fusion. I'll tell you about it after. Let's go for a little. Let's go for a little taste. I should say, you want to let it sit in your palate a bit longer. Don't just take it down because it will give you a burn. Let it sit in your palate and let it go around. And you start getting all these lovely chocolatey flavors. You start getting a bit of coffee. Everyone's getting smoke. I'm not getting too much smoke, but a lot of people are getting smoke. So you're getting lovely like that chocolate. You're getting a freshness. You're getting a citrus. Hint of spice in there as well, but you know it's not like a curry spice because it's from India or anything. It's just giving you this kind of peppery hit, right? Now there's that soft peat, just a soft bit of smoke coming through. Yeah. So the fusion, right? This is the fusion. Aged. So sorry, not aged. Fusion is a fusion of single malt from India and single malt from Scotch. So they've taken 75% Indian malt and they've taken 25% peated Scotch malt, right? So that's where you're getting the smoke from. Martin says no smoke at first, but when you opened up, yeah, really get it. Never knew. Okay, look, yeah, so that's it. That's kind of the point. I thought everyone might know that Indian whiskey existed, but the fact that you say it doesn't is kind of what we're here for. So let's try it with the chocolate, right? Chocolate at the ready. So I've gone for. I usually go for this dark chocolate in these tastings with a bit of orange and a little bit of almond because it's kind of got all the qualities of a whiskey, and a big bold whiskey like this goes perfect with this type of chocolate, right? So try it now. Have a little bit of chocolate or a little bit sip of the whiskey, then have a little bit of the chocolate, and it'll kind of take it to another level. Yeah. So all that lovely citrus notes that you're getting in the whiskey, that dark chocolate flavour you're getting, that nutty, woody flavour as well from the cask. It all works. It's David's favourite out of the four. Amazing. Amazing. Love it. Love it. So yeah, Indian whiskey is really good. Really good. And it's 50%. So, you know, you're going to pack a flavour. You might want to add a bit of water. Completely up to you. But I kind of like it. Maybe just a little bit of chocolate or some Parmesan cheese to counter that smokiness or enhance that smokiness. Works really well. But what I love about it is that you've got the two different grains. You've got the Scotch malt, you've got the Indian malt, right? And the fact that the whiskey is quite young, but it's aged so quickly, right? Means that you're getting this lovely complex flavors from the amount of from sort of the quick aging process because of the heat, but you're getting that lovely freshness of the spirit. You know, normally you kind of think you know, a whiskey like this, a Scotch whiskey with that sort of complexity, you know, has a bit of aging, so it's 12 or 15 years old. So the whiskey is much mellow, you know, and so it's a very smooth kind of dram with a lot of flavour, and that's classic, right? That's kind of that's a lot of the time that's what you want. But the Indian whiskey is just giving you something really different. It's giving you a bit of a punch along with that flavour, and I think sometimes it's just a nice shock to the system. And you can do things like, you know, match it with the chocolate, and it just kind of takes it to another level. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys enjoy those 4, and carry on your Zoom parties and have a little chat and see what you think. I'll have some more chocolate. I'll probably bring Shane in now, and we'll talk about some of the other tastings we've got coming up.
Yeah, I didn't have chocolate on mine. I didn't have enough left to give myself any.
You ate it before.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I know what chocolate's like with it, so that's good.
Yeah. You know what I think we should do? I think we should do a whiskey and cigar tasting now it's summer.
Yeah, I mean, people can stream from their gardens, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Whiskey and
definitely.
cigar, right? Amazing. You know, and that would just be a really good hour. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can have 6 people in your garden.
Yeah.
You can even have your friends around 2 meters apart, and we do a tasting. Amazing.
That's true. From Monday.
Monday, yeah. Michael, I'd have to have the whole tasting with Amber. You know what, Michael? It's something we might work on. But like I said, they've got so much in their range. We might look at it. We might look at it.
Didn't we have the owner at Makoko once? Was that the owner, or was he just a brand ambassador?
He was a global brand ambassador. Yeah.
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 I remember something like that. That was a good range. That really good range.
Yeah. So that's our whiskies. I think a lot of people have liked number 4, which is great. But you know what? I think they all have their place. I think they all bring something different. It's a really good representation of what whiskies from around the world can be. And hopefully there's a lot that you haven't sampled before. Yeah, Sanjay's up for whiskey and cigars, so that's 3 of us. That's good. Maybe there's some other comments. Tim. Sure. Yeah, so good. All right. So we've got our Glenfarclas on the 12th. We've got our cocktail on the 13th.
I'm just posting links for those now in the comments. So I've just put the Swedish one on there, guys, and the Glenfarclas, and I will get round to the gin and the cocktails one. But I mean, the whiskey is the most important at the moment. So yeah, I mean that's our next couple of tastings coming up. This one we were looking forward to, Wild Whiskey, and then next up we've got a week break. There's been quite a lot of tastings recently, so we thought we'd give everyone and ourselves a break for a week in between. And then on the 12th we're back with the Glenfarclas, and like I said, that's a great range of whiskies from Glenfarclas that they've given us there as well. And then fast forward to the end of June, we have Father's Day, and that's the Swedish moment whiskey tasting. So like I mentioned earlier, if any of you guys have joined us for the first couple, that last one's really going to showcase their premium range, and see kind of, hopefully you can see a good gradual step up from that entry level that you've had through the seasonal up to the moment range as well. Yeah, we'll always keep doing them. We always appreciate the feedback. There's loads of people that take the time to actually email us as well, off social media, just to let us know that they're really enjoying them and they're spreading the word, which is good. That's what we want. You know, if you're having a great time, tell your friends, send them the links, send them to join you. We know a lot of people actually have private Zoom parties going on, and they watch us as a group from different houses, which is good. Another option to think about. And also, one of the things that we haven't really pushed it on email or social, that behind the scenes, we've been doing private tastings. So if you have a big plethora of friends that are all over the UK, and you kind of want to arrange to get all those people together, we've been doing private Zoom tastings, and Jess has been hosting really, great whiskey or gin tastings on private Zoom parties. So that's a good way of getting all your friends together. They're really easy to arrange. So again, just drop us an email, and we'll arrange that for you guys. Same as always, any bottles ordered tonight from the tasting, you get 10% off. I know for a fact we have quite a bit of the Virgin Oak in, because we just got that in. But I know Amroot, for any of you fans there, I think we've only got a couple in stock at the moment. So if you want to get in it quick, be the first. But we'll do it anyway. Yeah. But if you want it quick, we have it in stock for a couple of you. And I believe that's it. Yeah, I think everything is in there. So yeah, links are in there. There'll be emails coming out. I sent one this morning, so I don't like to send too many emails. There'll be one on Sunday evening, Monday morning, with ticket links, if any of you haven't seen that already. but the links are in the comments there for you as well.
If any new people will probably, I mean, we'll add you to the mailing list so you see what's coming out. If you don't want to be added to the list, just reply to the email that we sent out at info@craftgins and just let us know, and we'll make sure that we don't add you to the tasting list. But if you're happy with it, we'll add you to the list so you know what's going on and when it's coming out.
So I'm just looking at some of the last comments here, apart from obviously the thanks, just in terms of the winners. So I think it's between English and Amroot, I think. Looks like it, between a lot of people.
It seems to be. There's a couple for the Signal Hill. Tomoka didn't really hit the mark, it appears, but you know, maybe that's just the lightness of it.
Yeah.
So I need 10% of all four, or just 10% of anything. Well, Simon, this is why you have to come to the tasting.
If you order tonight, we can do 10% off anything. Just as a thank you, anyway.
Good.
Seems to restock Nick Hibiki and Japanese whiskey. Yeah, everyone wants to restock on the Nickers and Hibikis and stuff. It's if you can find them cheap, grab them. But at the current price, I won't be rushing to buy much, especially in current climates. But yeah,
like I'm in a bucket. Okay, so I need to now need to get a microphone as well. All right. So look, I'm going to get myself an Uber. And get myself.
Oh yeah, I was going to get back.
Thanks for joining us all. We'll see those of you on Sunday for the Rock Rose gin tasting. We'll be joined by the master distiller for the whole tasting on that night. So you get to hear everything exactly directly from the man behind the whole brand who distills it to this day. And that's going to be really good. And as Shane says, we've got a lot of other tastings coming up that you need to get involved with.
Yeah, unfortunately, if anyone wants to join the Rock Rose now, Jas has sold it to you quite nicely. Unfortunately, that's all gone, and they've pretty much been all sent out. We've got a few being delivered tomorrow, but that is full. But the Cambridge Gin one, I'm just going to post a link for that. That's the next one we have after that. And that's almost the same as the Rock Rose. It's another good direct tasting on a one distillery. And I think it's the Cambridge again. Master Distiller coming on with us.
So you know what? Cambridge, right? Cambridge gin make the world's most expensive gin, right? They make the world's most expensive gin. We won't be trying it, but we'll see the essence behind what goes into make the most expensive gin. I just got an email today saying Will Lowe, who is the master distiller there, is going to be hosting the tasting with us.
Oh wow, good.
Because Will doesn't show his face. He is like. He's the only master distiller and master of wine, I believe, in the world. So to have him come and join us will be absolutely phenomenal. You're going to learn loads of stuff that night. So that's going to be really good.
Amazing. That'd be good. Yeah, really good. Okay, cool. Just using the microphone. Yeah. It kind of it was up and down. It started really loud and it kind of went a bit muffled.
Really?
And a little bit of feedback. Yeah, but it could be. Right. It's no end of things. It could even be because our till's right there and it's got loads of signals coming off it. You never know what it's going to be. But this got HD. Got the HD.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
See you again.